Hello, everyone. I hope you're doing well. Today we have an extra special guest. Her name is Lucy Msukwa. She is the founder of Uchembere Wabwino Maternity Clinic based in Mzuzu, the north of Malawi. Funny story, Lucy and I actually met on the internet. So here's a pro tip if you're listening. If you can use, or if other people are using Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok, you name it, if they're using those forms of social media to meet their future boyfriends, girlfriends, wives, partners, then it also means you can use it to build out your professional connections. One thing that really stood out to me was her commitment to building a better Africa, a better Malawi. Her dedication to seeing a better future is what prompted her to establish this clinic that not only provides outpatient services, but also has a focus of offering maternal and childcare health services. Anyway, we're going to get into this whole discussion as Lucy is going to talk to us more about her career journey. She's going to give us more details about her organization. Without any further ado, here is my conversation with Lucy. So thank you so much for joining us today, Lucy. How are you? How's Mzuzu? How's the weather? How's it going? How's your day going today?
Thank you so much, Wally, for the opportunity for me to have a talk with other people who are listening to this program. It's really amazing to see how connections work. Me and Wally, we met through internet. You can see that it was in 2021, then she remembered about me, which is very amazing. I'm really glad that she had reached out. Thank you so much for the good introduction. Indeed, my name is Lucy Msukwa, founder of Uchembere Wabwino Maternity Clinic, which is located in the northern part of Malawi. Lucy Msukwa is a third born in a family of 5 people. We are 2 ladies, I can say so, 2 ladies now because we are grown up, and I have 3 brothers, of which my last young brother is also a grown-up person now. He's working, so yeah, so that's about me. In terms of the weather right now, I can talk about the weather. It's very sunny today. We thank God. You know, sometimes in Mzuzu, weather just changes drastically. You see, sometimes it's rainy, the other time it's sunny. So today it has been sunny, which is very super amazing. So I'm going to talk more about my journey. For example, how I did my school. So I did my primary school at Mlambalala in Blantyre from standard 1 up to 8, and I passed, but I was not selected at a good secondary school. I was selected at a CDSS, but I preferred to go to a private institution by then so that I should be going in the early morning hours rather than going in the evening shift hours. So my secondary school, I did it at Chichiri Secondary School and Sue Williams. And then I ended up being at the Pwezi Girls Secondary School. That was my last secondary school which I went. Other people, they might be saying, why did you go all these secondary schools? It's because when I wrote my first MICE, I did not perform well due to other circumstances. During that time, my dad was very sick. He had TB, so I was taking care of him. So for me to concentrate on my studies, it was very difficult for me. So I ended up missing classes, staying with my dad in hospital, staying with my dad at home. So I couldn't concentrate. So I got 37 points by then, and I was not happy with my grades. I knew that I was intelligent, but with the circumstances that I was facing, it wasn't very, very good for me. By then, my mom had already passed away, so I was only staying with my dad. So I repeated my MSc at Prezi Girls. I was given a chance by my aunt. She said, which school do you want to go to? So I said, for me to really concentrate, I want to go to a boarding school where I can concentrate, so that I should not lie or to say I didn't do well because I didn't had enough time to read. I didn't do well because maybe of other environmental factors. So I chose Prezi Girls and I went there. And when I went to secondary school, to Prezi Girls, it was a mission for me to prove the people wrong, that indeed it was other circumstances that were making me not to pass or to have good grades. So I went to Praise in 2000, I think in 2004, where I repeated my MSc examination, and there I worked extra hard. I remember there were so many people, so many beautiful girls who were very intelligent. They were holding discussions. I was also always participating in the discussions because I had a goal to say I need to pass with good points. So while I was at Crazy Girls, I managed to pass from 37 points to 18 points. So those were the points that I got from Crazy Girls Secondary School. Then after a year, I applied for university entrance. It was called UEE. So I applied for that one together with my brother. By then we were going to school with my brother. But because we didn't had enough money for writing the exam for the UEE, I enrolled to a certain shop. I was working as a shopkeeper. I was putting items together in a metro in Blantyre, I remember. We were being paid 5,000 per month. So I used that money after the end of the month. I used that money to go and register at Zomba Chancellor College to register for our UEE. By then, my dad was already gone, so we were just living just like children. We were just only children who were living alone in a house which my mom bought.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, I took the 5,000. I took my brother. I said, okay, let's go to Zomba. We should pay for the UEE. Since my brother was very intelligent, he was at Malamulo Secondary School. He was the first person to pass with 9 points at Malamulo Secondary School during that time. So I said, you are intelligent. I know I am intelligent, but at least if you can go for coaching sessions with the little money that we have, you are going to be going to learn those lessons. And after that, we are going to be meeting. You are going to be teaching me what you have learned, because we didn't have enough money for us to go for coaching and to pay for UEE entrance examinations. So we did like that. And then time came when we were supposed to go for UEE examination. We went there. I remember it was in Blantyre in Chimwankunda. There was a certain hall. I don't remember its name, but there were so many people, so many beautiful people. With some were having some cars. I remember one person was joking at me, was saying, how many points did you had? I said 18. She was like, no, all those points, as we have got 6 points. Some were saying we have 7 points. You're not going to make it. So I said to myself, I say, I'm going to make it. If I have come all the way from home to write this university, I believe in myself. I know I'm going to make it. And I did a little bit of coaching. So I said, if God had put a price for me to go to the university, I'm going to go to the university. So we wrote the UEE and we waited patiently for the results. So during that time, for me to increase my chances of getting selected was I had to put something to do with health. Of course, I have passion for health because of the history that I have for my mom. I lost my mom, I lost my dad in my care. So I have passion for health. So my first choice, I had put Camus College of Nursing. Second choice, Camus College of Nursing. Third choice, Camus College of Nursing. I never changed for the forms. So after we finished the university entrance, we went home, and I remember those days they used to announce on the radio. And after some months, we had forgotten about it. I was still working at the metro. the job that I was working, that I was being paid 5,000 per month. So I continued working there. I remember one day my cousin called me to say, do you know that you have been selected? That time I was very far away in Limbi. I don't know what I was doing in Limbi market. I was barefooted, but I was just walking like an aimless person. I think that time I was just stressed to say, how is this life is going to be like? So she called me, my cousin called when I was home. She said, do you know that you have been selected at Camus College of Nursing? I was like, you are lying. By then, my cousin was at Polytechnic, so like a, she had an like a radio that she could listen to. So she said, do you know that you have been selected? My mind was blown up. I was like, thank you, God, because by then my sister was not around, but she had given me this old phone, people were calling it a brick. It was very heavy. Yeah, it
Yeah.
was very heavy. She gave me that phone in case of emergency or any connection, you have to be using this. So she called me on that phone. I was like, I have to walk home safely. So coming from Limbi, going to Shtawira, that's where I was staying. I was walking in the sides of the Lord, making sure that an accident shouldn't happen to me. I went home straight and I prayed about it. I remember then I called my brother. My brother also had that same brick phone. So I called him. I told him, do you know that I have been selected at Kamuzu College of Nursing? He was like, wow, better you. As we don't know anything. I said, just wait patiently. If I had 18 points, I have been selected. I mean, you too, you are going to be selected. So after they had announced names for Camus College of Nursing, then they started other universities. So when they started announcing the following day, they started announcing other names for the other universities. It was very fortunate to see that my brother's name was also called. He was selected at
Wow.
Polytechnic. So it was like a breakthrough, despite that we had lost parents, but
Mm.
it was a very good breakthrough to say, I think heaven has opened the doors for us.
Yeah, and
And
I was gonna say before you get into the rest of the story, I
yeah,
think so far it just feels like your life is like a lesson on resilience. Because, like, when
yes,
you were talking about how, for example, that your mom passed away and your dad was sick, and then you went to like these three secondary schools, like, I feel like most people, maybe me included, I'm not like, you'd feel like, oh, maybe, maybe this is what my life is meant to be. Maybe I should just give up. But I guess, like,
yeah.
very quickly, like, at that young age, like, what pushed you? Because I know, for example, some of the girls that are listening, or some of the people that are listening, like, they'll talk about how, they have no resources, but then you talk about how you went and found a job at a shop. Yeah, like what motivated you to like do these things regardless of the circumstances that you were faced with, especially at such a young age?
Despite that, thank you, Ali. Despite that, I was facing a lot of circumstances and even temptations, while I was young. But when I look at my cousins, I was like, these are my role models. All my cousins had gone to university. So I was like, why not us? Are we going to not make a difference? Are we going to remain poor like the way we are poor, like with no school? So that thing always pushed me to say, no, I can bring a difference in my family. We really need to go to school. Despite that, I was facing those challenges, being sent back from school to say you didn't pay fees. I remember the other time I was sent back from school. That was when we were at secondary school. My sister had written a check, knowing that in her account there was no money, but she just gave me a check to present at school and it bounced back. And I was sent back to 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 home. So it was always giving me like more reasons to say all these troubles that we are facing, then I should fail. No, I need to prove people wrong, to say it can be possible despite that we are facing these all challenges, that I have lost all parents, but it can be possible for us to have an education, at least a university education. It's very possible for us. So that was always what was pushing me. I could see my all cousins going to universities and not why. So I was always asking myself to say, why not us? We too, we can do that. So that was the thing that was pushing me to always continue working hard. But I was still facing some challenges.
Mm.
Some of the challenges that I can't even explain here, but they were very, very severe challenges that I remember our neighbor was a a mixed race person. They would say, no, you can come, we'll give you money, you should just have sex with us, we should
Oh
shoot
my
videos.
goodness.
But it was very terrifying, you know. I said
Mm.
no to this. What I want to do is I want to focus on my education. And eventually I got through the university and here I am. But there are so many temptations that we had
Mm.
faced. I remember the other time we had to sell our clothes just to feed ourselves. We could sell to those women who sell vegetables. We could sell them our good clothes and in return they give us maybe cassava. Sometimes we could exchange with tomato. It was very tough, to be honest.
Wow. And then I guess for young people in Malawi, because now people always talk about like, oh, Malawi is almost like this desert. Obviously, it's not a literal desert, but like an economic desert where they're like, oh, there's nothing that can come out of it. And people that are young at this moment, especially like in I guess more either rural areas or more densely populated areas who feel like they can't really achieve anything. Like, what advice can you give them in terms of coming through this difficult stage? So like you mentioned, like those people that were trying to like sexually abuse you and like all these different things. Like, what advice can you give to a young person who's going through these things right now, like to motivate them to come out of this, to tell them that there's hope?
Actually, I would say these days are better than our days
Oh,
because
really?
these days there are a lot of opportunities that you can do as a young person while you're still struggling, you know. People these days, they have got different talents. There are a lot of incubation programs that are running through helping teen girls or they are helping youths like to start small businesses and entrepreneurs. During our time, there was nothing like that. So if somebody is facing similar things that I had faced through while I was still young, I would urge them to go into different organizations. Now we have got different organizations. We have got incubation programs like MHub. We have Zuzu eHub. They are training young people who have maybe only certificate in Form 4, some in TVET. They are teaching them what to do using their hands, their talents. They can do that and they can find money to help themselves. And they can even do, like, for example, I was telling you, do a vegetable garden. Nowadays, vegetables in Mzuzu, they are very expensive. We buy two vegetables at 100 kwacha. If you can have a small garden behind your home, you can do that. Don't say this, I can't sell vegetables, it will devalue me. No, at least you're getting something from yourself that it can help to build yourself. So if anybody is facing those challenges, they need to reach out to other organizations that I have said, and they can even reach out to family and friends. And even the way we have connected, we have other people who also are willing to help other people who are passing through crisis. And I know in Malawi, they have also introduced other organizations. They have got free help lines. You can call and ask for help, and people are willing to help. So that's what they have to do instead of them to just give up in life.
Thank you
Yeah.
so much for sharing that. Okay, so we're gonna go back to your career journey. So you were selected for university, you get to Kamuzu College of Nursing, but then obviously like the clinic is in Mzuzu. So what happened? Like how did you come from like Kamuzu College of Nursing to Mzuzu? Like what happened? And then even after you went there, like what made you establish this private clinic? So could you provide more details on the next part of your journey?
All right. So thank you so much, Wally. After I had after I was selected at the Kamuzu College of Nursing, I still remained having a dream of helping other people because, as I said earlier on, I had seen what my mom had passed through. I had seen what my dad had passed through. I had the knowledge about other diseases like diabetes, hypertension, and tuberculosis. So I said, no, I still need to put this dream into a vision. You know, everybody has got a dream, and that dream can be turned into a vision. Then I said, how am I going to reach this dream, to make it a vision, to make it a reality? I really want to do something for other people. I really want to do something for other people's parents so that they should be happy. They should not be raised like the way we were raised on our own. So that kept on reminding me while I was studying at Camus College of Nursing. I know you didn't ask me about the school fees. Well, we took a loan. During that time, we were having an opportunity to get a government loan. So I took a loan. Then later on, when I was in second year, there was this organization said they were going to provide a scholarship to those people who are going to write an essay, and they are going to select those people who are going to do well to be paying their school fees. So because I knew where I was coming from, I took the chance, I wrote the essay, and I was among the people who were selected to be paid for the school fees. Okay, fast forward to the dream of opening the clinic. So I was always telling myself that I'm going to make a difference one day, despite that I'm coming from a poor background from my family. I'm going to establish this so that I should make a difference in other people's lives. That's my passion, to make a difference in other people's lives. So I finished my 4 years and I started working, but that dream never died. And, you know, with the issue of having connections, when I started working at Mzuzu Central Hospital, of course, I started with Rumpi, then I changed and started working with Mzuzu Central Hospital. So during my time working at the Mzuzu Central Hospital, I had made some connections with other colleagues. You know, we keep on learning every day. And one of my abilities is I like learning. I like learning a lot. So a colleague of mine had introduced me to an online platform whereby people of different health professionals, doctors, nurses, educators, they go online and continue their professional development. So I was very interested in one of the courses. I remember it was economic evaluation in global health. I said, okay, despite that I'm working, I need to do something like to keep up my knowledge, to boost my knowledge. Maybe one day I'll work outside Malawi. I was telling myself, maybe one day I'll work outside Malawi. I need to have a global information. So I enrolled in that course. And after enrolling at that course, I saw that it was very beautiful. I got so many insights about global health. And it was very interesting to know that there were so many people who are in different health professionals like deans, lecturers, doctors. So during that platform, it's where I utilized it to make connections, to now start asking people, how do I open a clinic? How does one open a clinic? That's where the connections began. So luckily enough, I was introduced by one of the members who was working with the Nurses and Midwives Council. And I approached that person. His name is John. He's a very good person. I approached him and he said, you know what, Lucy, I'll give you information. Just remind me on Monday around 8 a.m. working hours. I will send you the email, the necessary things that you're supposed to have. So on Monday morning, I emailed him. I reminded him. He gave me the forms, all the necessary things that are supposed to be used to open a clinic. So that's how I began. But then during that time, it was the time that I had not yet reached the recommended years of working, whereby one can start operating a private practice. So I remember I asked John, how many years am I supposed to save for me to start my own private practice? So he said, you need to have 4 years. I was like, okay, 4 years. 4 years is not very bad. I'm going to manage. So I had to strategize. I had to strategize to say, okay, these are the documents that I have. It requires a lot of things, but with these 4 years, I think I can strategize on how I'm going to implement this dream to become a reality, So that's what I did. I said, okay, I told my husband, at first I wanted to open a kindergarten because when I was in Mzuzu, I saw so many kindergartens. They were not very nice. So I said, I'm going to open a beautiful kindergarten whereby pupils, they have to come and learn good English and everything. But that dream died. And then I started focusing on opening a maternity clinic because that's what I was passionate about. So I made up a strategy to say I'm going to be saving since I have all the documents that are needed for one to start operating. So I said, my strategy is going to be saving. I have 4 good years for me to save for this thing to come to reality. So by then I was married, and I was married to Alexis Ngambi, my husband, up to now, and we have 2 daughters. So I told my husband, I said, I really want to do this thing. How do you think about it? He said, yeah, it's a good dream, but I know most of the times people who do these things are the people who have retired. You need to retire. So I said, no, me, I don't want to retire, to wait for retirement. I want to do while I am fresh. So he asked me, what strategies do you have? I said, I have nothing in my pocket. It's only the salary that I get from the government, but I really want to do this thing. So he said, okay, whatever you want to do, you can do it. So I said, okay. I told my husband, I said, okay, I'm not going to be contributing things at home. Instead, I want to be saving from my salary. I'll be saving 20% of my salary, and I'll be purchasing some of the items until 4 years. So he said, no problem, you can be doing that. So I worked in government for 4 years. That was in 2015, 16, 17, 18, 19. In 2019, when it was just 4 years, I told my husband, I am ready. He said, what? I said, yes, I'm ready. I think we can start off doing this thing. But by then, I didn't have any money, or any place in mind where I'm going to start the thing. I was just like a normal person, moving around, going to work, coming back home, like that. So eventually, one day, I was just walking around, moving around the neighborhood where we stay. And then I was telling somebody that I'm looking for a place where I can start a clinic. I really want to start. I have small few items that I want to start, but then I'm looking for a place so that I should start putting my items there. I should be seeing progress instead of me just seeing the things in the cartons, in the box. I want to be seeing them in a specific place where I want to operate. Then a certain security guard said, I have seen a certain place, it's empty, it's vacant. There was a clinic there. Can you go and check it out? I said, okay, fine, I'm going to check it out. I went there, it was really empty. It was like God had left that place for me. It was just waiting for me. The security guard said, this place has been vacant for 6 months now. I was like, really? So he said, yes. So I said, do you have the contacts of the owner? They said, yes, we have the contacts of the owner. So I said, give me the contacts. I contacted the owner. His phone was not reached. It was out of reach. So I just tried to text him on WhatsApp. And surprisingly, he said, if you really want the place, you can get it even now. I was like, what? But I don't have money. I called my husband. I said, I don't have money, but I have found this place. They say we should pay 3 months in advance. But I don't have anything. But I really want this place because this place is very suitable for what I want to do. Then my husband said, okay, I'm going to pay rent for you for 6 months. You can start putting some things that you have had bought before and do some renovations. So that's how we started in 2019 in in March. In March, he paid rent for March, April, May, June, up to 6 months. So in March, we were just doing some renovations, some setting, but officially to start the clinic, it was in September. So that's how the journey was. Sure.
Wow. Okay. So I've been taking notes because you've been dropping wisdom. So in terms of my notes, and we're gonna go into a bit more detail on these things. The first thing you talked about is you made connections, and then from those
Yes.
connections, they gave you insight into like the possibilities.
Yes, exactly.
And then after you had like that possibility of goal in mind, you then created a strategy, and that included
Mhm.
like saving about 20% of your salary so you can keep
Yes.
purchasing those items.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
then in that period, then you started looking for opportunity, and then that's how you came to you started looking for opportunity. And when you were looking for opportunity, God brought that opportunity to you. And that's how you came
Mhm.
to that clinic, the one that was
Yes.
closed for 6 months. And then
Yeah.
I also wrote a pro tip. So I'm not yet married. So I wrote a pro tip, find a supportive husband, because the fact that he was willing to do that, like to even pay the rent and for those few first months,
Yes.
like that's very supportive. So I also wrote that down. But
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
but then I guess the question I have is in terms of you talked about strategize. Um,
Yes.
like how did you decide on 20%? Like what did you put in your strategy? Was it like a piece of paper? Like did you write things down like 5 months, 1 year? Like if us who have these goals and these dreams, like how can we create a strategy for our lives? Like what tips do you have for us?
Like myself, when I'm creating a strategy, I don't create a longer strategy because I know it doesn't work sometimes. Most of the times they don't work. If you look at the some of the vision we have been having as a country, they haven't been working because the duration is very long and people forget about them. They forget to implement some strategies. So me, I like yearly strategies. What I did was up to now I do yearly strategies. Even for the clinic I do yearly strategies because I know that these yearly strategies are easy to achieve and they can be easily implemented. So that's what I do. I don't do a 5 year plan. I don't do a 3 year plan. I do 1 year. Each year we come up with a strategy. So by the end of the year I do a strategy. So what I did was I said I got 20% from my salary. I was saving. I had to open a fixed deposit account where I was putting my 20%. And I chose 20% because I had also put a plan to get a loan from the bank. So they were also deducting me. I remember I took a loan of 1.2 million. So they were also deducting me because I had to purchase more equipment. So that was the strategy that I had placed, and I still put 1 year strategies. I put them in writing. Each and every year, I buy a new diary. When we are closing the year, for example, on 31st December or 30th, I sit down alone, or sometimes I find a place where I can sit and reflect how the year has been. So when reflecting through the year, I take my diary, the old one, the one I'm finishing with the year, and I sit down to look at the goals that I had put in that year to say, in this year, I want to achieve this and that, and what strategies did I put, and what worked, what did not work, what is it that I'm going to do this year or next year. So that's what I do. Each and every year, I buy a new diary. It's very important. Some people they think it's fancy or it's just for showbiz, but it's not for showbiz. It helps you to keep your strategies aligned with your goals. So I normally sit down, write down my goals. Usually I write 10 goals for my business, 10 goals for personal goals. uh, so I write my 10 personal goals. For example, maybe I want to have good time with my family, or do maybe buy a product or buy a car or go to a holiday. Those are personal goals. I put them aside. And then I also write 10 business goals. Where do I want this business to go like? So I put also 10. Then I select the ones that I see that I'm going to manage them with the timelines and what strategies am I going to use to achieve them. Because you can not just put the goals and not put the strategies of how you are going to achieve those goals. So I also put a strategies. How am I going to achieve this if I really want to buy a car? For example, if I want to buy a car by the end of September 30th, what strategy am I going to put? Am I going to be find another job, for example, to buy a car, or am I going to find a, another business for me to use the profits to buy a car? So that's what I do. So in terms of business too, I also put the goals. Usually in business goals, I usually put 6 or 5, because I know that I have to not be over ambitious. Sometimes it's very hard to achieve them. So I put the goals and the strategies of how I'm going to achieve them. I will give an example. For like last year, I said, okay, in the next year, in 2024, I have to be able to finish renovating or setting up a theater. But how am I going to do this? I had to come up with a strategy to say, okay, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to do grant writing proposals. How many proposals am I going to write into what organizations? So I had to put a strategy. I'm going to write proposals, at least 10 proposals per year, knowing that at least out of the 10, maybe 1 or 2 will pass through and will make my dream to become a reality. So that's what I do. You put a goal, you put a strategy of how you are going to achieve that goal. If you just put down the goal down and not put a strategy, it won't be achievable. And you won't find any of the goals being achieved. Instead, at the end of the year, you will find yourself shifting those goals again to the other year. And then the cycle will repeat itself, and then you will find like there is no use of these diaries. I mean, I'm not achieving anything, then there is no use of me to be using these diaries. So me, I always put up the goals, write a strategy, and make sure that the strategy that I'm going to use, it's going to be a realistic one, not something that is not going to be realistic. So you have to also put in mind to say, these goals that I'm putting, they are going to be achievable. Remember, goals are always smart. They have a time bound. And just say, I'm going to do this by this year without putting a deadline. No, there has to be a deadline, because it reminds you when you go back to your diary and you're reading through, it reminds you, no, you have this deadline. What have you done about it? So that's the beauty about using the diaries for that year. Thank you.
Thanks. It makes sense. I think that's probably going to be one of our homeworks and tasks for us who are in the For Girls Who Dream Big WhatsApp group. I think that's a very good and practical way of building the life that we want to see, because I think, like you said, sometimes it's easy to say like, oh, for example, like I want to buy a car, I want to buy a house,
Yeah.
but then it's like,
Yeah.
but in reality you're not really doing anything towards that thing that you
Yes.
want. So I think, yeah, we'll definitely
Exactly.
implement that. So thank you so much for sharing that with us. And I just want to go back to your story in terms of, I guess, the most recent leg of that story. So what was the biggest challenge that you faced from moving from being an employee to becoming an entrepreneur, and then I guess now to becoming a philanthropist? Because I'm sure like the skills that you needed when you were working for the government are different from the skills that you need now as a founder. And how did you navigate that?
One of the biggest challenge that I had was I had no knowledge in running a business. So I was just doing, I know how to treat patients, but then how to run a business, it was a hassle. So after I had done my own research, my own personal reflection analysis, I said, no, I need to have at least knowledge about entrepreneurship. I need to know knowledge about how to run a business. I need to know how to to run an organization as a leader. So that's when I started applying for incubation programs. I started applying for incubation programs because, as I said earlier on, you like person who goes, what are your challenges? So I wrote in my diary, said, I have these gaps. I don't have knowledge in entrepreneurship. I don't have knowledge in business. I don't have knowledge, like adequate knowledge in leadership. So what strategies can I use? Oh, there are so many incubations now for women. Many organizations, they are running around looking for women to be trained in entrepreneurship. So I leveraged on that one. I started applying for incubation programs. So that was the challenge that I had. And I had to overcome that challenge by participating in incubation programs. Right now, as I'm talking, I am a very good entrepreneur who has been trained in different incubation programs, and I'm very proud of myself because I had taken that step to go and do different incubation programs. Despite that, at first it was very tough for me because when we're doing incubation programs, the only examples that they give, it's either of Coca-Cola, or they are giving examples of Uber, they are giving examples of uh, maybe Sprite, and yet you are dealing with the people. So it was very tough, but eventually, little by little, I started applying the concepts to service provision. So yeah, that's what I can say. Incubation programs are very good for somebody who is running an organization. It's really good. Even if they should be just incubation trainings, just to train you, to give you the knowledge, uh it's the skills. It's very good, even though you're not going to get anything from there. You're going to get the knowledge and the skills. It's very good for somebody who wants to run an organization or a social enterprise. Yeah.
Okay. And then in terms of the nonprofit work that you do, then how, like, is it the same skills that are required for that, or is it slightly different? So that when I say nonprofit, I mean the work that you do with the schools and the youth clubs.
Can you repeat the question?
So in terms of the nonprofit work that you do, so the work that you do with Uche Youth for the young
Change.
people, yes, sorry,
Yeah.
Uche for Change, Uche Youth for Change, with the work
Yes.
that you do with the young people, like what sort of skills are required for that? Is it the same thing in terms of what you learned from the incubation programs, or did you need to like learn additional things for that?
Actually, with each youth for change, you need to interact with the young ones. So, youths are different from adults.
Mm-hmm.
The way youths think and the way adults think is totally different. So I had to also start participating with other youth organizations for me to know what is it really that youth want. With time, I'm growing up. I'm no longer a youth, but I had to start interacting with other youth organizations. So one of the organization that I interact with, it's a civic engagement youth organization. It's run by a young guy. His name is Francis Kamlomo. He's very young and he's very, very energetic. He's always around small children, so I was motivated and interested to join his program. That's how I began. He usually deals with mental issues with the youths. So one day he invited me to their campaign to be like a guest speaker, where he had invited a lot of youths. So I was like, wow, this is really, really, really good. So I got some of the concepts from what he does from his organizations. It's also a non-profit. It's based in Zuzu. So despite that, we are a for-profit on the other side, but from non-profit side, we are also learning from other youth organizations on how best they are doing to capture their target audience. So I'm still learning, and that that's what made me to like focus also on the Uche Youth for Change to involve young people. Yeah.
Okay, that makes complete sense that you're learning and you're also networking with other people.
Yeah.
And I guess whilst we're coming to the close, because I just realized I was looking at the time. I'm having so much fun talking to you, but I was looking at the time and I thought, I guess whilst we are summarizing, what is the one thing that you would tell your younger self if you could go back in time and you could speak to her? What would you say to her?
If I could go back to my younger self and on time, I would say never give up. Never give up in life. There are always obstacles in life, but never give up, because if you give up, then you will never become somebody. And I would want to say Jeremiah 29:11, it says, "For I know for the plans that I have for you, declares the Lord, to give you a hope in the future," says the Lord. So always strive to work hard. If you don't work hard, those plans won't be fulfilled. If you don't work hard, that opportunity won't come on its own. So never give up. That's what I can say. If I had given up, I wouldn't be here. I would have been long gone. So if I could go back to my younger self, it's always never give up. Let's continue fighting the battle.
Fast forward as an adult living in Malawi today, and you see the young people in Malawi, what is the one skill that you'd advise them to get for the future? So it doesn't have to be like, for example, like maths, for example, but I mean skill in terms of character, resilience, having good judgment, etc. Like, what skill would you encourage young people today to get?
What I would encourage other people in Malawi or across is that they have to believe in themselves and hold on to what they are passionate about.
Mm,
If you are passionate about something, you always make it. Don't allow like outside pressure to force you to do the things that you are not supposed to do.
mm,
Don't allow that one, because out here with the social media, there are so many things that are happening just to give you pressure. But do things out of passion. If you do the things out of passion, you love it, you live it, and you grow it. Yeah.
wow, thank you. Last question. What book or TV show or I don't know, like hobby, like what are you currently doing at the moment?
Actually, you'll be surprised what I like. I like watching food channel, that of
Oh, like
chefs.
cooking.
Yes, I love cooking. I love baking. So when I'm home, all the time I watch Food Channel 175, Chopped, yeah, Amazing Bakes, all those, I watch them.
So do you make any of the things from the food channel? Like
Yes, I do.
what have you made recently?
Actually, I was learning how to make croissants. So
Oh,
yeah, we made the croissants, and also made some. Recently, I made a. We were trying to make a cake filled with chocolate inside, so that's what I was making. I call myself Master Chef Lou. Even my brother knows that. He says, "I always miss your food because I like baking, I like cooking." I like good food. I like homemade food. So that's what I usually do. If people come home, I always want them to remember me because of the food that I prepare for them. So Master Chef Lou, yay.
oh wow. So that means in future it's not just gonna be Uchembere or with the maternity clinic, but there'll also be a bakery. Because it's
Actually, I love baking. I love baking. And of late, I visited one of the colleges just near us.
mm-hmm.
There, it's like a tourism institution. I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to go there and ask the top performers like to have a bake-off championship. Of course, I have not yet break out
Wow.
the news to them, but I just really wanted to go there and do something, to motivate the students to say, if you are going to do this bake-off championship, the winner is going to have something like this. That's what I'm planning to do. So
Okay,
yeah,
when you plan it, please
just
share
for
the
the
details
passion of
with her.
yeah, just for the passion of cooking and baking. I love it. I really love them.
Yeah, please share the details with us. I'm sure like there'll be other people that will be wanting to sign up as well. Yeah, thank you so much. I really appreciate your
I will
time.
share the details.
Okay, great. Great, thank you. I was gonna say thank you so much. I really appreciate your time. I know you're very busy. May God continue to bless you and continue to expand your territory with the clinic. And yeah, thank you so much.
You're welcome.